So probably the best answer to that is that I am not a data scientist at a core, right? I have an art degree, and so at the very core of me, I am a creative person in general, and I have a very kind of profound background and connection with uh, art and the way that people express themselves, or that humanity expresses themselves through not just numbers and words, but images or sounds, music. I'm very drawn to music, very drawn to art. So that's probably a little bit of the underlying causes of my approach to everything that I've done in the data side of things. Um, I think that the second layer of that is I grew up in a country. I'm born in Mexico, raised in Mexico, and so I guess my mother language and my character per se was pretty well formed by the time I came to the U.S. And one of the core values for the Mexican culture, and I'm sure you're familiar with just traveling to Mexico, one of the core values for us is hospitality. Is not as an industry, not as a business, but as a way of being, as a way of living. And as being of service is one of the highest honors as human beings. And so our my background in being raised in a large family in Mexico with service as the core value and being service of others, I think is a second layer of how I approach everything that I've done in my career. So then I came to leadership positions mostly on brands like Hard Rock, where you know the mottos on the wall were so ingrained into the culture of the company, right? Love all, serve all. Take time to be kind, to which, to by the way, to this day is my handle. My Instagram handle is TTTBK, is take time to be kind, right? So there's a lot of that has been in my career, I think, has been in place and has helped me guide my leadership style and my leadership values too. So in that sense, I feel that is never a one dimension answer, right? There's many reasons why I landed in the management style or the leadership style that I now have. And so the third layer of that is the way that my team and the people that I've worked with and that are really directly responsible for me being where I am, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of many people who either gave me a chance, gave me a shot, helped me get to where I am, opened the door when I thought it was closed, or quite honestly, did all the work. I'm sometimes just a mouthpiece for my team. And I think you know these better than anybody, right? Is we stand in front of people to talk about the work we do, and we may walk away with the credit, but the people that do the real work really are who should be at the forefront of what we do. And I do try very hard to convey that to my team and help them understand that what I do is not the work. What I do is remove blocks, work with people, find ways, find money, find resources, connect people so that I can, or we as a company can then get the results we expect. So the fourth layer of that then is data. So what data do we have that can validate the efforts that we put into projects, the ways in which we interact with our consumers or our partners or our franchisees or even us as a team? And then how do we connect all of those data points and help us understand the ways in which we can be impactful? And so leadership, I don't think is just about how do we use the data to make sure that customers are coming, is how do we use the data to improve our communication styles, to be more approachable. So the only way to not lose the effect of being a leader or being a company or being a person in a world that is overloaded with data is to drive it through humanity and finding the way for that data to be useful to connect to people and to put that hospitality and that service and that look before you start looking at the data. So, there's things that robots will never be able to do. Feel empathy, tell stories, look at you in the eye, feel compassion. So for me is leadership is all about how do we put those values in front of the data and how do we back those values through data to make sure that we're driving, yes, with data in the surroundings, but with an open heart first. And you make emotional connections rather than just transactionals, right? So for me, landing at Margaritaville has been one of the happiest accidents of my career, because Margaritaville is an emotional brand first and foremost, and we don't stand for a product. If you think of Margaritaville, and our CEO says that all the time, right? Is if you say Coca-Cola, you know exactly what you're going to get because they stand for a product. Marriott stands for a product. Nike stands for a product. Apple stands for products, right? We stand for an emotion. And so for us, it's already there. It's for us to take that leap into the next level of using data, technology, science, statistics, whatever it is that we have to in our reach to be able to enrich the emotion in the human experience that we are able to offer as a brand to consumers that are looking for it, even though they may be just wanting to stay in a hotel and have a good night's sleep. But the fact that we're able to connect with them in a different way makes us much more valuable.